Woman's fight to honor her mother's memory.
That's right. It's a story that begins in the segregated South during World War II and ends with a woman who died more than a month ago and still has not been buried.
ABC 2 News' Christian Schaefer now here to explain.
Yeah, Jamie, during World War II, Lieutenant Louise Lomax was one of the few African-American women to serve as a nurse at the Army Air Base in Tuskegee, Alabama. She had hoped to be buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Her only child has been fighting to make that happen.
This is my mother. She was in her early 20s in this picture.
Louise Lomax grew up in Southern Virginia, graduated from a segregated nursing school in Richmond in 1942, and tried to join the Army. Her daughter, Pia Jordan of Baltimore County, says because of her race, she had to fight to get in.
She didn't talk a whole lot about it. I saw her scrapbook a couple of times, and I said, oh, this is interesting.
As that scrapbook shows, in 1943, Lomax was assigned to the Tuskegee Army Air Base in Alabama, home of the now famous Tuskegee Airmen. She was honorably discharged 10 years later, got married, and remained a nurse. As her health declined over the past several years, she and her daughter discussed her wishes.
She said, well, my first choice was Arlington National Cemetery for burial.
Many of the Tuskegee Airmen are buried at Arlington, but space at the nation's most prestigious resting place is limited, so there are restrictions. Veterans who served a full 20 years, who died in combat, or who were awarded certain medals qualify for in-ground burial. Others, like Louise Lomax Winters, don't. Cremated remains of other veterans can be placed at Arlington, but
she could be cremated, but our family doesn't do cremation.
After Louise Lomax Winters died on April 1st of this year, Pia Jordan says the staff at Arlington informed her that her mother could be buried there.
Arlington said you could bury her there if we delayed the burial.
So instead of burying her somewhere else, they waited and waited. And still, more than a month later, the body of Louise Lomax Winters remains in a refrigerated holding area waiting for her final resting place. The storage fee, $45 a day, continues to add up, but Pia Jordan says it's the principle.
I'm embarrassed that I have to have my mother. She's refrigerated. I mean, that's really hurtful. You know, to say your mom's, refrigerated.
This week, Jordan sent a letter to her congressman pushing for an exemption for her mother. It's not clear how long that process might take, but she remains determined to fight for the wishes of a woman who had to fight to get into the military in the first place.
I want that story to go out. And I would like her to be buried at Arlington National Cemetery.
We did not get a call back from Arlington National Cemetery to discuss this story tonight, but according to the cemetery's regulations, which are listed on its website, exceptions can be granted for veterans whose service merits, quote, extraordinary circumstances, and if that exception does not displace another veteran from Arlington. Christian Schaefer, ABC 2 News.